chosen one. Right now, in your mind, you are sitting in a room that is already safe, yet your soul is still bracing for a blow that is never going to land. You are wearing heavy, invisible armor. You have survived the betrayal. You broke the generational curses that held your family hostage for decades. You weathered the financial drought, and by all external metrics, you won the war. You created the distance from the toxic environment. You stepped into the new season, and you survived the fire. So why do you feel like you are dying inside? Why does your spirit feel like a hollow shell instead of a victory trophy? This is the paradox of the victorious shell. You are a spiritual soldier who has been in the trenches for so long that your mind has forgotten how to breathe without scanning the horizon for enemies. In our modern culture, especially within the American mindset of constant hustle and relentless achievement, we are heavily conditioned to believe that our worth is inextricably tied to our struggle. Society, and sometimes even our own communities, subtly teaches us that we are only as valuable as the amount of weight we can carry on our shoulders. We glorify the grind, the sleepless nights, and the relentless endurance, convincing ourselves that peace is a luxury we will eventually earn, but never actually get to sit down and consume. We wear our exhaustion like a badge of honor, terrified that if we put down the sword, we will somehow lose our value or be ambushed by the very chaos we just escaped. But what happens when the spiritual soldier's assignment officially changes from fighting the enemy to recovering from the battle? What happens when your creator issues a definitive ceasefire, but your mind has absolutely no idea how to take off the armor? You are currently experiencing a profound disconnect between your physical reality and your internal programming. The war is over, but your nervous system is still treating every unexpected phone call, every quiet afternoon, and every minor inconvenience like a ticking time bomb. You are not ungrateful for the blessings and the safety you have finally achieved, and you certainly are not losing your faith. You are simply stuck in a physiological and spiritual echo chamber of your past traumas. By the time we finish this message, you will understand the exact biological and spiritual mechanics behind why your victory currently feels like sheer exhaustion. More importantly, you will walk away with a completely free, natural, and immediate protocol to command your mind, your body, and your spirit to finally stand down and inherit the rest you fought so hard to secure. To understand why your soul feels so weary, we have to look past the typical spiritual buzzwords and examine the actual biology of your spiritual warfare. For years, you have been the cycle breaker. You were the family fixer, the shield, the one who absorbed the shockwaves of everyone else's dysfunction and carried the unspoken burdens of the people around you. Operating in this intense, unrelenting state of hyper-vigilance, locked your brain into a frequency known as high beta. This is the physiological state of fight or flight. In high beta, your brain acts as a radar system constantly pinging for threats, flooding your bloodstream with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline just to keep you upright and functioning. You were not truly living during those years. You were surviving an invisible war. This is what we call the Elijah syndrome. Consider the prophet Elijah in the book of 1 Kings. He had just experienced the most spectacular, miraculous victory of his life on Mount Carmel, defeating the false prophets and proving the power of God. Yet, immediately after this massive triumph, he ran into the wilderness, collapsed under a broom tree, and prayed for his life to end. Why would a victorious, chosen warrior suddenly want to die? Elijah was not experiencing a crisis of faith. He was experiencing a catastrophic nervous system crash. He had been operating in high beta for so long that his physical body could no longer sustain his spiritual output. Look closely at how the Creator responded to this breakdown. God did not preach a sermon to Elijah. He did not give him a new military assignment, command him to fast, or tell him to pray harder. Instead, God sent an angel to give him a warm meal and put him to sleep. The Creator of the universe prescribed a profound physiological rest because he understood that a shattered nervous system cannot sustain a divine calling. This brings us to the miraculous biology of your own body, specifically the vagus nerve. God designed the vagus nerve as the biological brake pedal for your human soul. It is the superhighway of your parasympathetic nervous system, the intricate network responsible for rest, recovery, and deep peace. But because you have spent a lifetime putting out fires and holding your breath through storms, your foot has been glued to the gas pedal. Your vagus nerve has been overridden, leaving you trapped in a biological loop of chronic stress. Your current burnout is not a moral failing, and it is certainly not a lack of faith. It is a deeply physiological reality. Your body is so saturated with the chemical residue of survival that trying to connect with the divine frequency of peace feels like trying to tune a radio through thick, chaotic static. You cannot spiritualize away a nervous system injury. Before your spirit can clearly hear the whisper of your next beautiful assignment, you must first give your biology the explicit permission to finally exit the battlefield. When you finally step off the battlefield and the noise of survival fades into silence, you expect to feel an immediate, blissful relief. Yet, for the chosen one who has carried the weight of the world, this silence often brings a terrifying, unexpected drop. This is the shadow work of true rest. The moment you actually stop moving, the heavy armor of adrenaline that kept you numb to your own pain suddenly dissolves. Without that chemical shield, the suppressed grief, the unacknowledged anger, and the bone-deep exhaustion you ignored just to survive the previous season, all rush to the surface. You feel more tired and emotionally fragile in the safety of your new life than you ever did while walking through the fire. This is not a sign that you are failing at peace or going backward. This intense discomfort is the physical manifestation of chemical withdrawal from the matrix of survival. Your body and your brain have been addicted to the intoxicating, high-stakes cocktail of cortisol and adrenaline for so long that chaos became your baseline. When genuine peace finally arrives, your traumatized nervous system does not recognize it as safety. Instead, your brain violently misinterprets the quiet as a trap, convincing you that the other shoe is about to drop and that this stillness is merely the calm before a devastating storm. This profound fear of peace creates a paralyzing identity crisis for the high achiever. Your ego and your sense of self-worth have been entirely built around being the warrior, the rescuer, and the strong one who handles everyone else's emergencies. If there are no more fires to put out, no more crises to manage, and no more battles to win, who are you? You are faced with the terrifying reality of your own reflection without the armor. The world trained you to believe that your value is directly proportional to your utility to others. But this new season requires a complete deconstruction of that lie. You must relentlessly remind your soul that your identity is not defined by how much trauma you can endure or how many people you can save. You are not your struggles. You are not your productivity. And you are not what you do. You are who God says you are, completely worthy of love and breathing room simply because you exist. Overcoming this chaos addiction means sitting still in the terrifying silence until your mind finally realizes that the war is actually over. To truly break free from this cycle of exhaustion, We must completely reframe our understanding of rest, transforming it from a perceived weakness into an advanced form of spiritual warfare and an absolute strategic necessity. When we look at the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14, the ancient text declares that the Lord will fight for you, and you need only to be still. For a trauma survivor or a high achiever, the command to be still often sounds like a death sentence, entirely misinterpreted as a call to lazy passivity or surrender to the enemy. However, the original Hebrew word used here for being still is chares. Chares does not mean laying helplessly on the couch doing nothing while your life falls apart. It translates to the intense, focused silence of a master craftsman. It is the posture of a worker who intentionally stops talking, stops panicking, and stops wildly swinging his hammer so he can channel all of his quiet energy and concentration into the masterpiece right in front of him. The Creator is not asking you to give up or be weak. He is commanding you to practice charis because He is actively performing a delicate surgery on your destiny, fighting your spiritual and legal battles behind the scenes. And your frantic, fear-based interference is only disrupting the miraculous process. Of course, translating this ancient wisdom into the modern American reality of mortgages, demanding jobs, and raising children can feel incredibly impossible. You might be thinking that you do not have the time or the money to escape to a silent monastery in the mountains to achieve this state. But the truth is, you do not need to. Instead, you must master the art of the micro-rest. A micro-rest is the intentional, radical act of dropping your mental armor for just 5 uninterrupted minutes in the middle of your most chaotic days. It is sitting in your parked car before walking into the grocery store, closing your eyes, and commanding your nervous system to reset. It is locking the bathroom door, taking a deep breath, consciously unclenching your jaw, and dropping your shoulders away from your ears. In these fleeting, powerful moments of chairs, a profound spiritual and psychological shift occurs within your mind. You abruptly stop operating as a frantic refugee who is constantly running from a war, perpetually out of breath and looking over your shoulder for the next tragedy. Instead, you transition into your rightful, divine identity as a sovereign ruler entering your rest. A sovereign ruler does not pace the throne room in a panic. A ruler is seated, authoritative, deeply rooted, and completely trusting of the boundaries they have built and the divine protection that surrounds them. Your rest is no longer a luxury you cannot afford. It is the highest expression of your spiritual authority and the ultimate proof that you actually believe the war is over. To truly inhabit this sovereign rest, you must learn to command the actual frequency of your mind, a process that modern spiritual marketing often tries to sell you for a steep price. You have likely seen advertisements or videos promising that if you buy a specific frequency audio track, it will instantly unlock the theta brainwave state, granting you immediate access to genius ideas, DNA repair, and divine miracles. While the science of brainwaves is entirely real, the idea that you need to purchase your peace or use an external device to reach God is a profound illusion. The Creator hardwired the ultimate technology for accessing the divine frequency directly into your own biology, and it is completely free. Theta is the actual brainwave state of deep intuition, profound creativity, and the exact frequency where your subconscious mind opens to receive divine downloads. It is the sacred state of deep prayer and spiritual communion where you were naturally stationed as a child. Long before the trauma and the matrix of survival locked your adult mind into the chaotic static of high beta. To naturally reclaim this divine frequency without spending a dime, you must harness a biological phenomenon that neuroscientists call the hypnagogic window. These are the two most psychologically and spiritually malleable periods of your entire day. The 10 minutes right before you drift off to sleep, and the 10 minutes immediately after you open your eyes in the morning. During these critical windows, your brain is naturally crossing the bridge between the conscious and subconscious realms, making it the perfect time to rewrite your internal programming. However, instead of using this sacred time to access the divine, most high achievers absolutely waste it by scrolling through toxic social media feeds, stressing over tomorrow's emails, or replaying the anxieties of the past, effectively hijacking their own brainwaves and dragging themselves right back into the frequency of war. To stop this vicious cycle and manually shift your mind into the theta state, you must implement a specific, natural protocol during these hypnagogic windows. When you lay down to sleep tonight, leave your phone in another room. Close your eyes and intentionally engage your vagus nerve using a simple physiological tool known as the 4-7-8 breathing method. Inhale quietly through your nose for a count of 4 seconds. Hold that breath deeply in your chest for 7 seconds, and exhale completely through your mouth, making a whoosh sound for 8 seconds. As you perform this physical reset, you must combine it with a deliberate prayer or a vivid visualization of immense gratitude. Picture the heavy, dented armor physically dissolving from your shoulders and explicitly thank God for the undeniable safety of your present moment. This specific combination of prolonged exhales and conscious spiritual gratitude acts as a biological override switch. It forces your nervous system to power down the production of cortisol and naturally guides your brainwaves out of the survival matrix and directly into the clear, miraculous waters of theta. You do not need a monk's discipline, and you do not need to buy a digital audio file to find your peace. You simply need to boldly reclaim the 10 minutes before you sleep and the 10 minutes before you rise, turning those forgotten windows into a sacred breeding ground for your next divine assignment. As you step into this sacred frequency of peace, you must immediately build a fortress around it, because the moment you stop overfunctioning, the people around you will inevitably resist. This is the tragic reality of guarding your recovery. For years, energy vampires and toxic environments benefited immensely from your lack of boundaries, relying on you to be the perpetual crisis manager, the emotional dumping ground, and the savior who always sacrificed their own bandwidth to keep others afloat. When you abruptly change the rules of engagement and put your sword down, these individuals will consciously or subconsciously attempt to pull you back into the war. They will present you with fabricated emergencies, guilt trips, and urgent demands designed to trigger your old savior complex. To survive this predictable backlash and protect your hard-won peace, you must ruthlessly implement the 3-circle boundary protocol. Imagine your life as a series of 3 concentric rings, and you stand fiercely at the center. Circle 1 is the absolute inner sanctum of your spirit, reserved exclusively for the Creator and your own soul. In this deeply intimate space, absolutely no external opinions, demands, or voices are permitted, allowing you to anchor your identity in divine truth rather than human validation. Circle 2 is your safe harbor, a highly restricted zone containing only the 1 to 3 people who actively prayed for you, supported you, and loved you, when you had absolutely nothing to give them in return during the darkest days of your fire. These are the rare individuals who celebrate your rest and do not demand your exhaustion. Circle 3 is the sprawling outer court, encompassing absolutely everyone else, including co-workers, extended family members, social media acquaintances, and people who only know you as the soldier you used to be. The ultimate test of your new sovereign identity is learning exactly how to handle the inevitable intrusions from Circle 3. When a Circle 3 person brings you an emergency that is not yours to fix, or attempts to dump their unregulated chaos into your lap, you must not explain, defend, or apologize for your peace. Instead, you deploy a firm, loving script that permanently cuts the cord of codependency. You look them in the eye or reply to their frantic message and simply say that you love them. But you do not have the emotional bandwidth to take this on right now, and you believe they are strong enough to figure this out on their own. Delivering this truth will initially make your traumatized nervous system scream in guilt. But that fleeting guilt is simply the cost of admission to your permanent freedom. By enforcing this absolute boundary, you stop bleeding your vital life force into bottomless pits and finally reserve your energy for the magnificent harvest God is preparing for you. As we bring this profound journey to a close, I want you to participate in a final spiritual activation that will permanently seal this new reality into your mind and your biology. Right now, wherever you are sitting, close your eyes and visualize yourself walking away from the muddy, chaotic battlefield you have known for so long and stepping through the massive golden doors of a grand palace hall. As those heavy doors pull shut behind you, the deafening noise of the world is completely cut off, leaving you in a vast, echoing sanctuary of perfect peace. In this incredibly safe space, I want you to mentally reach up and begin unbuckling the heavy, dented armor that has weighed down your shoulders for years. Feel the immense physical release as you let the notched shield, the heavy breastplate, and the exhausted weapons of your past season fall ringing to the stone floor. You can look down at the scars and the profound battle damage and respectfully acknowledge how well they protected you. But you no longer need to carry them. This is not just a visualization. It is a sealing ceremony and a divine decree. By the absolute authority of the Creator, I declare that your agonizing military assignment in the Valley of Survival is now officially closed, and you are entirely released from the subconscious guilt of not struggling anymore. The war is completely over, and your new sacred assignment is to simply heal and to gather your harvest. Next, if your weary spirit aligns with this undeniable truth and you are truly ready to step out of the matrix of exhaustion and into your sovereign inheritance, I want you to make a tangible, physical declaration to anchor this shift. Subscribe to this community right now to continue walking in this frequency of divine truth. And go down to the comments section and type the exact words "I accept my rest" or "the war is over" to officially cement this spiritual ceasefire into your physical reality. Now, as our time together ends, I am not going to dismiss you back into the chaos of your demanding life. I am going to leave you right here in a final, uninterrupted moment of sacred silence. Do not immediately click away to another distracting video. Do not pick up your phone to check your urgent messages, and do not rush frantically back into the noise of your day. Sit in this profound stillness for the next 30 seconds and actively practice the cherries we just discussed. Breathe deeply. Feel the undeniable weight of the glory settling over your entirely unarmored soul. And gently allow your nervous system to finally recognize that you are completely safe. Your exceptionally long battle is finished. Rest now.